Hey, this is CJ Graham, Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, Part 6. You're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast, and you should listen to Jason because Jason does live. I'll be back.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank everyone who's been listening to us. And as you guys have come to know, we always drop some bonus content on, the major holidays, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and here we are again. We got one of the most famous Jason actors of all time on the show with us tonight, CJ Graham. CJ Graham, known for cult classic Highway to Hell, most notably Friday the 13th Part 6, and most recently starring as Elias Voorhees in Friday the 13th Vengeance, a fan film. CJ, do you want to say anything before we just jump into these questions, man?
No, I'm excited to be here. Nico and Brian, thank you so much for the invitation, and thanking the fans out there for still being there for us.
Oh, absolutely, man. Here's the first question we got for you, brother. I read somewhere that you were a nightclub owner before getting the role. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Can you tell us a little bit about that before you got the iconic role as Jason in Friday Part 6?
Yeah, it was a lie. Hey, look at you guys. Both of you guys went blank. Like, what? No, really, it was a lie. I was actually a general manager of a nightclub, but that's okay. A lot of people perceive I was a Marine and I was actually Army, so, it's one of those things where, yes, I was running a nightclub, 15,000 square foot nightclub in California, LA, and I had a hypnotist show on Thursday evenings, Jack Lachlan to be exact, and he decided to bring a camera crew in to do a promo video of his show so he could start trying to get more additional exposure for other clubs and possibly Las Vegas. And it just happened that the production company he brought in was the people that done all the special effects on Friday the 13th Part 4 with Ted White. They were called Real Effects, REEL, Real Effects. And when they were talking with the hypnotist, they thought about, hey, let's do something different when the subjects are under, and they were talking about a scary scene. They said, well, let's put CJ in the wardrobe from Friday the 13th because we got it, and he's about the same size as Ted. And sincerely, the rest is history.
Wow.
Awesome, man.
That's great. Hey, CJ, it's Brian. It's nice to meet you, man.
What's up?
You were the first to portray zombie Jason, where the makeup looked much more extensive than the past installments. Was there a long makeup process you had to go through? Can you talk a little bit about the process?
Sure. Initially, the process was about 3 hours, give or take 1 minute. Once we got over with the graveyard scene, which everybody calls Maggot Head Jason, once we got past that, we got into putting more of a hood, which covered half my face. And once the mask went on, you didn't have to really worry about the details. As long as my eye was all gelled out with black grease, kind of like in the military. Being the maggot Jason, it was about a 3 hour makeup process. However, once we got past the maggot Jason process, which was the actual opening, now, if you remember, movies are shot out of sequence.
Right.
So that could have been near the middle or near the end of the movie prior to the beginning of the movie. So, for continuity purposes, once we got past the maggot head Jason, we moved into a hood that only covered half my face. And simplistically, all they would do is gel, kind of a black, like the same thing you use in the military when you put an oil on your face, green and black, to stop your skin tone from being noticed through the jungle. They put it around my eye. Now, that was great. Once I put the mask on, the mask also from that one eye had a nylon, actually a girl's black nylon in the back, so you truly couldn't see through see my eye at all. So I was always kind of looking through a fog. And as you recall, at the end of the movie, when the eye is a close up and you can see my eye open up, that I'm still alive. That was when they took it off, so they could really get a close up of my eyeball.
Well, that's great. So you did all of your own stunt work for this film. Were there a lot of stunts involved with this role? Can you talk a little bit about that? Were there any of the scenes or stunts that stood out to you, good or bad?
The interesting part is, until about a year ago, even my friend Kane Hodder didn't know this. We were doing a panel one time, and they were talking to Steve Dash, Kane, and Tom about their stunt work, where they went to stunt school and stuff. I'd never done a stunt in my life when I got this film. That was one of the things that was more interesting, because when I did all my own stunts, everybody has been, wow. I mean, so yeah, I did everything. When you go through the door, when you go through a wall, you're 20 feet underwater, breathing off a regulator. You're setting your back on fire. Squids going off in your chest, in the head. All of that was just me being 28, 29 years old and thinking I was invisible. And fortunately, my stunt coordinator, Michael Nomad, kept me alive during the process, because not doing stunts in my entire life, a lot of stuntmen can't wait for their first job like that, and sometimes they never get to see a job like that. So I was pretty fortunate that I got to do it, and I can talk to you 35 years later, basically 34 years later, and say, hey, I did all my own stunts, and it's the real deal.
That's awesome.
Hey CJ, Dustin here. I'm a friend of the show. They were nice enough to let me sit in tonight because this is my favorite installment in the franchise, and I'm a huge fan of your work in this film. So I appreciate you taking the time. So this film had 18 kills. You massacred up 18 people in this film, including some of my favorite from the entire franchise. Is there any particular kill that stands out to you? What was your favorite kill in the movie?
Well, the best of it is I got to kill 18 people. I didn't go to jail. It's kind of like living in California. I pick on them all the time
Wow.
because,
Yeah.
uh, to be fair, I mean, my best kill that I feel was the sheriff being bent in half. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about the head kill, the squash, the tearing out of a Horseshack's heart? But at the end of the day, that to me is true power. There was no blood. It was just taking somebody physically and breaking them in half like a chair. I mean, to me, that is beyond the norm when you talk about power of, coming back to life like Frankenstein.
Right.
It's true.
The next question we got for you, man, is this movie is very different from the rest of them because there's a lot more comedy in this film than the other ones. Can you talk a little bit about that and the approach you took to playing Jason in that atmosphere?
Right. Were there other films besides Friday the 13th, Jason Lives? I didn't know that.
Not that I know of. No.
It's the only one that matters.
The interesting part about it, and I tell people all the time, I'm real proud of it. There's several reasons. Number one, I really think that, the team pulled together and did a great job in transparency to make sure that Jason wasn't made fun of or hokey. In fact, I would like to think part 6 is where Jason truly became the principal of the film. Up to that part, there was just a character, Jason. I think after part 6, everything revolved around Jason. But I will tell you the most, important thing to me was just really working hard with everybody. This film had no nudity. I think there are 2 or 3 times that somebody uses a 4-letter word. So with that, it's somewhat what I would say young friendly. So you could show a 10 or 12-year-old, and with the exception of them being scared, there's nothing you can cover their eyes over because it's not blatant nudity or anything. The one thing I think is nice about part 6, and I always tell everybody, and once I say it, people go, wow. I got to be honest, it was fun because we have the only James Bond opening.
That's very true.
We're the only one that came back to life like Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only one that has a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer doing the music, Alice Cooper.
Yep.
And I get to be the only Jason that wears a Batman utility belt. So I think in my mind, I think it was a good part of the series, and I think it was a good launching platform for Kane Hodder and everybody to take off from that point.
Do you have a favorite memory or anything from behind the scenes you would like to share?
Well, I think my favorite memory is my first scene. And the scene where the mobile home is rocking,
Right.
and I step into camera frame from profile and then turn towards the mobile home and start walking towards it. That's my first memorable because at that point I'd never been on a movie set in my life. That was my very, very first scene and my opportunity to be Jason. So you think about your first touchdown or your first race where you won first place. That would be to me the best of the best.
Right. After this film, you went on to do Highway to Hell. Can you talk a little bit about how you got the role for that film? And am I correct in saying that you went up against Kane Hodder for the role in that film?
Yeah, it's interesting because both Kane and I were not picked for Highway to Hell. The guy that was picked for Hell Cop had went through all the prosthetics, and they had spent well up to $100,000. The special effects company was Steve Johnson, if you look up, who's done just hundreds of films to his credit. And Steve Johnson and them had already done all the prosthetics for a face. The person didn't realize that their face wasn't going to be shown, so they backed out after all the prosthetics casts were done. So they started looking for a replacement before they even started shooting. And of course, Kane has a good background. Kane went in and I went in. To be fair to either one of us, my face is a little rounder than Kane's, and I fit the prosthetics better than Kane did. Kane's face is a little more Irish, square. He's got a square jaw, more rounded. I'm Norwegian, I'm Viking. So we have different looks in our facial structures. Prosthetics fit me better than him. And again, the rest is history.
Awesome, awesome. So, what can you tell us about this upcoming Friday the 13th Vengeance movie? And what's up with you not playing Jason this time?
Well, I got asked to do a fan film, which I voluntarily did. I had them take 2 weeks worth of pay, and they donated it for me to the Shriners Children's Hospital. So I did not receive pay. I was more
Awesome.
interested just because I thought it was kind of cool. Elias Voorhees has never been seen to the general public, with the exception of a comic. For me
Right.
to be able to step into a role, iconically, I can say I own that role now because everybody will have to compete with me. Though it may be a fan film, competitively, it was kind of neat. I mean, I grew a beard for 4 months. We did use a wig for the long, long, straggy hair. But the character was basically just the same size as Jason. The gentleman that played Jason and I squared off a couple times, father son type of thing. But at the end, they left it as open to follow through with another part of the Vengeance series if they chose to go that way. So it was fun. I had a good time with it. Characteristically, it looks very cool when you see Elias Voorhees. It's basically Jason with a beard, long hair, like a woodsman, a mountain man. And then you see Jason, you can see the relationship between the two.
CJ, I got kind of a question that one of our co-hosts always asks. But before that, I just wanted to tell you, man, I've told this story on our show several times. Jason 6, Jason Lives was the very first horror movie that I ever saw as a little kid. I was 6, 7 years old, maybe. My babysitter took me and my brother to a Blockbuster, and I really don't remember why we picked Jason 6, but we took it back to the house and it was on VHS. If that makes you, we popped it into the VCR, and dude, I was terrified. We kept pausing it and playing it, pausing it and playing it, and your movie, your portrayal as Jason was what honestly made Jason my favorite slasher of all of them. I honestly love your look in this movie. You're my favorite zombie Jason movie by far, and that's no disrespect to Kane or anything. This is just the best movie. I honestly love the utility belt look, and I love that scene where you take all those gunshots and you just get back up and it's nothing to you. I just think you're badass, Jason, and I love that. But
Yeah, I appreciate that because the Tom McLaughlin, the writer director, who took a shot with me, to this day, I just saw him last year and I did a full wardrobe photo op with Alice Cooper, and to this day, Tom looks at me and just says, "You're the same size. Fortunately, I am. The wardrobe I put it on, I'm still spot on." So characteristically, it's nice to be able to still have that. I may not have a six pack abs. I got a four pack, But with the exception of if I had my shirt off, having a 4-pack versus a 6-pack, I still have the same broad, solid waistline, height, all the above. So when I do wardrobe photo ops with the Comic Cons or Monster Mania, Texas Frightmares, etc., the cool thing is when I stand up and people come around the curtain to take a photo with me, they hesitate because realistically, it's like walking onto the movie set and I'm just looking at you with that mentality of, all right, bring it, So I appreciate it.
Oh, oh, no problem, man. And you're exactly right, man. I saw a picture on James Jude Courtney's Instagram that you two took together, and you're might be bigger than he is, and I was like, whoa, those are two giant human beings. But this is the bonus question that our a fellow co-host always asks. Uh, do you consider Scream a horror movie?
Scream, I, I define horror movie. I think that's the question. I can answer your question politically with a question. Define horror anymore. I think it's become so mainstream. The word thriller and horror have crossed over where it's kind of hard to define. It's like doing a convention. There's Frightmare, there's Monster Mania, Spooky Empire, and then you get into the Comic Cons, and they're all starting to have some crossovers to a combination of cosplay, horror, thriller. I see all the different actors. Last year, Kane Hunter and I did a gig in London, and we're talking everybody from Lee Majors, $6 Million Man, to Jason, Aquaman, to Val Kilmer, Charlie Sheen. Everybody between was there at that table meeting fans and doing selfies. So I think there's a crossover where you could define if you wanted to specifically say the word horror, but it's become so mainstream
Hmm.
that I think it's become clouded, so the line has moved.
Oh, I agree
Very
100%.
good.
And and right now, man, I'm just gonna plug your website for you. It's jasonvi.com. So it's to represent the Roman numerals, and you can get signed pictures and memorabilia such as machetes, which I will be buying. I want one of the. I don't know if I want a black or a silver one yet, though. Maybe I'll just buy both of them. Who knows? You can also
Right.
get personal shout outs on Cameo. I believe they're $40 a piece, if I'm not mistaken.
As a matter of
And
fact, yeah, and the cameos have been so popular. I've got a couple in queue right now. I've got to get done either tonight or tomorrow to get them back to the fans. The nice thing about the cameos is you get to do something personal to somebody, and there are some people that want birthday gifts to friends. Others just want to send a shout out to let their friend know that if I mess with them, they'll have to deal with me. It's kind of interesting. Um, and then if I could I do a shout out?
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
I was
Well,
going to ask you about your potential your 2020 appearance schedule, but I'll let you go ahead and do all that.
Well, 2020, next week I'm going to Sweden if you guys want to head over.
See you there.
Yeah, but a Monster Mania in March, Friday the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Myself and Kane Hodder are doing full wardrobe. That'll be
Wow.
my first con that I'll be doing Maggot Head. I've always done the Jason character with a mask, but I've had so many fans ask for that Maggot Head. So I had a professional special effects artist create both the Maggot Head hood and the gloves to go with it so that I've got the hands to go with it. And then as we go into it, I'm going to be doing my first trip in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm kind of excited about. Of course, Texas Frightmare, myself and Kane Hodder are going to join forces. I'll be with Alice Cooper this year doing a show, and then it just goes through the rest of the year. Later this year, we just finished my part and other parts for a movie called 13 Fanboy.
I've heard
Uh,
about that. I've heard about that.
13 Fanboy is being done by Joel and Deborah Voorhees.
Right.
And some of the cast that'll be included will be, I don't know if you know Corey Feldman, maybe?
I Yeah, I
I
think
believe
so.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Okay. Dee Wallace.
Yes,
If
sir.
you remember Dee Wallace, going all the way back to her beginning of her career, she was the mother on E.T. all the way through Cujo and another 100 films between. Kane Hodder will be in it, of course. Deborah Voorhees will be in it, of course. And you're going to see a lot of Lara Park Lincoln is in it. And we just finished that about a month ago, and I do end up doing a fight scene in that. And it just happens to be with a gentleman named Vincent, Desante, and he actually wears a mask. And at the very, very end of the mask, where we finally see what's up, I won't tell you anything beyond that. But we go to battle, he and I, and you'll see the rest when it comes out here latter part of this year.
That's awesome.
Awesome, CJ. Dustin, Brian, do y'all want to tell them any final thoughts before we get off this call?
No, just thank you very much for being on. And if there's, anything we can do for you, just let us know, please.
No, guys, I appreciate you even having interest. I appreciate the fans. Like I said, we're very humbly appreciative that the fans still embrace us after all this time. That's one thing I will say about the Friday the 13th fans. The Legion of fans, it's a worldwide franchise. It's just phenomenal, number one, that everywhere you go, people may not always know who you are by a facial recognition. But I will tell you, I've been to Universal Studios walking with my kids, and somebody points at me and said, "Hey, you played Jason." And you just kind of go, "How would you know that? I don't have a hockey mask on." Or
Right.
I remember one time going through TSA, and the TSA agent looked at my name and looked at me and go, "Are you the guy that played Jason?" And I'm just like, "You got to be kidding."
Wow.
So it is amazing how many people. A friend of mine I just saw last week, and he's in the Air Force, staff sergeant. His major, his boss, she just happened to say, "So where are you going this week?" He goes, "Oh, I'm going to see my aunt's brother, my brother-in-law. Basically, he played Jason Friday the 13th." Her response, now remember, she's a major in the Air Force, was, "Get out of here! Are you serious? You're this major in the Air Force." She's a horror fan. She goes, "Do you think he would sign a mask for me?" And it's like, yeah, anything for anybody in the military, of course. Being
Right.
ex-military, I mean, I have the utmost respect for all the people that have been in the military, past and present,
Absolutely.
and those that will come in the future. But I'm a veteran, honorably discharged. I was in the military 46 years ago, so if somebody, the soldier, asked me to do something, yeah, you got it.
Right. Absolutely.
CJ, thank you for your time. We really appreciate your service in the military. And I just want to stress one more time. I got the Jason Live shirt on. You're my first memory of Friday the 13th. You're really what got me into liking Jason movies, the franchise, and horror in general. There's a lot of, deep horror movies, but I always go back to Jason Lives or Jason Part 4, Final Chapter, those movies, because, I just love the character of Jason Voorhees. So I really appreciate you taking your time to do this with us, man. It's been an honor to talk to you.
Well, I'm glad you said you have a shirt on, not underwear that say Jason Lives. So that's good.
Well, that's me. So
Yeah. So, guys, I appreciate your hospitality. Invite me to your cast, and I look forward to talking to y'all again. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
sir,
Thank you.
thank you.
And just want to remind everybody to
Don't go out there.